Hello everyone, I'm going to show you how to draw 1 and 2 point cubes in Photoshop. Um, the tool I'm using is a good old-fashioned paintbrush. I've got a small paintbrush. I'll turn my smoothing back to 0, and I'm going to lower my opacity so that I'm just making light marks. So we want a paintbrush that's light and small, and I'm working on a new layer so that I'm not working on my background. And the tools we're going to use in addition to the paintbrush is the shift key. So the shift key is pretty cool. If you click and hold with the mouse, like you're going to draw, and then hold down the shift key and drag to the right or left, or if you click and drag up or down, you can lock yourself into perfect vertical and horizontal lines. That's going to come in wonderfully well for helping when we get going. The other trick that you're going to use is the shift click. So if you click a dot and let go of the mouse and hold down the shift key and click a dot, Photoshop's going to connect the dots. So it's an easy way to get straight lines kind of going in any direction you want to. So to draw a 1 point perspective cube, well, actually, let's start. I'm going to draw a horizontal line across the middle of my page. Again, click a dot, hold it, hold down shift and drag. And to draw a 1 point cube, that means that we have 1 point on the horizon line that our faces are going to recede to. In a 1 point cube, you are looking straight at a cube. So one of the faces is directly facing you, which means that horizontal and vertical are always going to be horizontal and vertical. So I'm just going to randomly draw. So that's probably not going to be a good place. Let's do it over here. We'll start with this one over here somewhere. Draw a horizontal line, and then I'm going to draw some vertical lines. And I'm not worrying about being overly perfect and lining things up exactly. So if we have some over lines, that's all right. So we're looking directly at a face. And the way this works then is we can connect our dots for all 4 corners to that vanishing point. And this one might be a little off of that, but there we go. So as you can see that I have a perfect vertical and horizontal, connect all 4 corners. Now, the back face, you can kind of start seeing these faces. The back edge of this is going to be perfectly vertical because verticals are always vertical in 1 point. So I can just draw a line connecting basically these same diagonals. Draw a vertical line. You can see that it's imagine this line basically just sliding down there. Where that hits, it would then turn and go horizontal. So I can click here and draw a horizontal line. I can also draw a horizontal line here, and then where those two cross should line up. So I now have the back face of my cube. Now you wouldn't really see that, so I'm going to make a new line. If this was truly in kind of 3D in an opaque cube, so if I take my opacity up, I'm just going to go back around and trace over the lines that would be visible. Oops. So you would see that one connecting back to here. That would be a vertical line. That would be a horizontal line. That would connect to here, and that would connect to there. So now I have a cube floating in space that would be perfectly in 1 point. I'll go over that again. Um, the rules basically are the same no matter what shape or configuration your cube is. So maybe I have a long, tall, maybe just, it's going to be a kind of a skinny guy, but that's all right. Draw perfectly horizontal and vertical. Connect those dots on the diagonals to that 1 point. And then I take that vertical line, wherever that vertical line is, and somewhere we'll make this one really deep in space. Right? That will connect to those same diagonals that come off those corners. And then I can go back here, and connect the dots. right? And that shows me my entire cube as if it were transparent. And I can take my opacity back up to 100. And now I can connect all those dots and actually go back and reinforce the lines that would make up this cube. There we go. So that's 1 point. And again, with 1 point, we are looking directly at a face. Now, when we get to 2 point, we are going to have two vanishing points out on the horizon line. And the idea here now is we've taken our cube and we're actually rotating it. So vertical is still going to be vertical, but horizontal is no longer going to be horizontal. In this case, horizontal will go back to one of the vanishing points. So for this one, we are going to draw, where my mouse went, I'm going to draw a vertical line, like so. And now I can basically just connect those dots, the endpoints of that vertical line back to, where'd my line go? My mouse is so small I can't see it. Okay, so what I'm doing is taking those endpoints of the vertical line and connecting them to the vanishing points. Vertical is still vertical, so if I imagine that vertical line sliding along somewhere and drawing vertical again, now you can see where the back end of this face would be, and I can connect the lines here to both vanishing points, which is already here on this direction. In this direction, I can combine those, and I can now see the cube. It's easy to get lost in the lines, but that's okay. We're going to take the vertical line the same way on this diagonal and draw a vertical line. Again, the endpoints of that vertical line go back to the vanishing point on the right. If I connect those dots to the other vanishing point, I now have those. And if you've done everything right, where the top corner of this face and the bottom corner in the back should be a vertical line. And now you have a cube floating in two-dimensional space. And you can go back, again, take my opacity up to 100%. And we can go back and draw that. So we can actually see where it would be. Leave the guidelines nice and faded out. There we go. We now have a cube floating in two-dimensional space, or a three-dimensional cube floating in 2-point perspective. That's pretty much it. I'll draw one more as a quick review. Going a little bit quicker this time, but I'm going to say out here, let's see my point, my vertical line is here, right? And because I'm looking directly at a cube, or at an edge, not a face. I can connect those dots back out. Draw a vertical line. Connect those points back. That one, the way it lined up, those diagonals are overlapping. Was not intending that, so I'm gonna keep that one, yes. Let's draw that line further out here, maybe. Just so those lines don't, diagonals don't overlap. Slightly bigger brush, I can see a little bit bigger, so it's easy to get lost in the pixels on this. And then I'm going to draw a line here and here. It doesn't look quite as cool as the thin lines, but you know, there we go. We now have a cube. I can take my opacity back up. Connect those lines. Oops. Now I have a cube floating. Right, so that's how it works. This is completely not needed for, make a new one just for fun. to show you guys a 3-point. This is not needed for the assignment, but nice extension of what we're doing. So with a 1-point perspective, we are looking at a face directly on. A 2-point, we are rotating out and we are seeing a vertical, or I guess it could be horizontal, but we're seeing one edge that's perfectly straight on. In a 3-point, there are no 3-point, there are no perfectly vertical and horizontal lines. We've rotated the cube, so we are actually looking at an edge or a point. So I can draw just 3 lines randomly out, and then these are going to be the edges of my picture plane, edges of my cube. Ooh. Okay, um, so now we're looking directly at a point, and these will become my vanishing points. So if I want to say maybe the edge of my cube is right here, I can connect those points back to the other vanishing points. Let's say this is a really big cube, so I'm going to say maybe right here I can vanish these points back on my cube, right? And then maybe out here on this line there's going to be another vanishing. So all I'm doing basically is just sending everything to vanishing points, right? So start with a point on my cube. I have my 3 vanishing points, and then I just connect dots out, and I now have a 3-dimensional cube floating in 3-point space. And I can connect, so you guys can actually see what it'll look like. There you go. We now have a 3-point cube floating in space. Again, that's just so you know, for the assignment and for what you're going to be building for class, it's 1-point and 2-point cubes. Thank you very much.